Yep, I'm doing the same thing.
Because then it gets more people.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right, I think I have the volume down on this other thing, so that won't distract me. All right, so here we are getting started with Behind the Pulpit, second edition. This is Pastor Ron of the Road to Damascus Church, and I'm really excited. It's probably more excited than I was last week. We had D'Amico on. This week we have, I won't say a long time friend, but a longtime friend of mine who is now transitioning from music ministry into actual preaching ministry. I call her Reverend, but she's not technically a Reverend yet, but we'll go with not Minister Janae Jackson. Hi, Janae. How are you doing?
I'm well. How about you?
Well, you know, like I said, I'm excited and I'm nervous about what we're doing. There's something about this format that just really, kind of gets me a little amped up because it's, preaching is always nervous in the beginning, but once you get up there, everything's good. Throughout this whole thing, I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I think that anything, like even people who really don't know me, singing makes me nervous. So, and as much as that probably seems like an utter shock to most people, it definitely is. Like, it's nerve-wracking each time that I sing. It's never anything.
You know, that's funny you say that, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you get nervous when you sing? Because you get up and you sing these songs so beautifully. It doesn't even matter what you're singing, that you just get up there and you sing. And it's just hard to believe that you actually get nervous or have those jitters when you get up there to sing.
Oh, it definitely happens. I am literally shaking in my boots, like to the utter moment in the midst of the song. So most times, if you ever take a look back, if you go through my old videos, my eyes are not open because I either find a focal point, which is typically at my church, it's the clock. There's a clock in the center back that I look at, and then most times my eyes end up being closed, and so I'm not really looking. I can't look at a particular person, or it'll just weird me out. Every time. It never fails.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, your view is to the side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go. Now you're right side up. It is interesting that you would say that, because it is Brother Corny Mims just commented talking about two people he loves. So we know Brother Corny Mims. Shout out to the brother and his little documentary that he did about his journey in the music industry, which is really interesting. The times I've watched it. Now, Janae, how old were you when you started singing?
Let my mama tell it. I was singing before I could talk. Kind of like Bailey. My niece, she catches melodies. Like, she could sing the theme music to the Avengers, which is crazy to me.
Right.
She's not 3. So I just pick up on melodies. But what most people don't know is my mom sings, and she used to sing to me often. So I get it from her. And my dad used to play trombone. Most people don't know that either. So
I saw a picture of him on Facebook, and he had commented to me before that he played in the band when he was in college. And
elementary, junior high, high school, and college. He was on band. Wow.
Yeah, the trombone is my dad's favorite brass instrument, actually. He loves the trombone. Now, so you've been singing for a long time. When was the first time you actually sang in front of people other than your family?
Even like singing in front of them, like I would just sing around the house, but it was never like nothing serious. The first time that was ever noticeable, that I'll say, I was in, was it 4th or 5th grade? I was in Glee Club at my school, and I got a lead. My very first lead was "God Has Smiled on Me." So I think that was the first time I ever sang in front of, and this was people in front of my school. So I was super nervous. people see me as this super outgoing extrovert, but I am really like, I can interact in social settings, but I am really nervous.
Are you an extrovert normally?
My mother would say yes. For me, I know how to adjust to my surroundings to maneuver, because some people are very awkward. I'm not awkward, but I prefer being in solitude. So us being in quarantine is not terrible. It's just the fact that I can't leave when I want to leave.
I got to tell you, when at my previous job, they had us do a test on where you were an extrovert or an introvert. And people are really surprised that I am on the pretty high end level of an introvert scale. I'm not extreme, but I am very high on the introvert level. And so everybody's complaining about the shelter in place. And I'm thinking, what's the problem? This is my lifestyle. This is what I like. Just be able to come home and not do anything and just chill. When I'd have to go to meetings at work, and after the meeting, when you have the happy hour and the social stuff, that was the worst part of the day for me, because I just wanted to go back to my hotel room and not have to deal with more people. I need to decompress. And so now I've got I think a good base of close to 2 months of decompressing. So I think I can come out and play.
You can go outside.
Yeah. Now as a kind of introvert extrovert, how do you think that has helped you with the music, or has it helped you with music?
I think with any musician or person who really is very precise about their craft, we're all nervous. And I think when you're not nervous, it takes away your humility, because I think people, especially in the church setting, going in front of people, people think that, oh, you do this all the time. But I think it gives me a sense of humility. Like, I'm not perfect, and I know I'm not perfect. And it's not just about singing the right notes. It's about evoking the emotion. More so of, will someone be touched by what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And I'm more nervous in front of people that I do know than people that I don't know. And I think that's just something in the back of my mind, that the people that I know will judge me more if I do fail, if I do mess up, as opposed to the other people. I may not ever see them again. So, what they think of me doesn't really matter. So when people say, oh, I don't care what people think of me, that's not true.
Oh, I agree.
It's not true entirely. That's impossible. I'm sorry. It's just impossible.
Where are you most comfortable singing? In a say, I don't want to say nightclub, but in a non-church setting or church setting?
Church setting. I think I'm most comfortable, because I think that's, I've tried the other stage, not to say that's I think I'm more comfortable in the church setting, just because, I don't know, it feels like home. It doesn't matter what church I'm at, or what city I'm in. Like, when I went to visit my old pastor, Pastor Mark Whitlock, in Maryland. And from core to Reed Temple, that is a total different magnitude of church. The church is huge.
Oh, I've seen the pictures. Stadium big.
It's humongous. And I was overwhelmed just in the rehearsal space alone. I was overwhelmed. And then Sunday morning comes, and they do an introduction of me, and I'm just like, me? Introduction? And then they blast my photo on the big screens, and we're like, welcome, star. And I'm thinking, like, wow. But even then, once that portion was over, once I kind of channeled back into myself, because anytime I'm about to sing, I close my eyes, I clench my fist, or I'm holding my hands together, because it's kind of a silent prayer, just to kind of calm and release my nerves. And then I just focus on the words, because you have to connect to the words of what you're saying in order
Right.
to evoke the emotion. If you don't connect to the words, then you can't push out what the message is, or at least I don't think that you can, because some
Mm.
people sing words and you can tell that they're just singing words.
Oh, I think that probably is true, because there are times that whether, when you've come and sung at my church, whether it's you and Imaye singing or you, Imaye and Michael singing, and I'll walk out of there and thinking, man, they just killed it today, because all three of you guys was feeling that song. And then some days it's like, it didn't really seem like they was feeling that one too much, which I understand. We never, Pastor Nixon used to tell me, you're never going to hit a home run every time you come up. Sometimes you're going to hit a single, sometimes you might strike out, but you still at least get up to the plate and give it your best shot. But even when I think, like when I've talked to Nimaye afterwards, and he's like, we'll struggle, or you could tell something is bothering him, he's still killing it. And there are times when I walk out of church and all I can do is just shake my head, just like, God, man, they really touched me today through song. How do you feel? Or do you like to hear people say that, or does that make you like uncomfortable to hear people say how much you move them when you sing?
No, that's actually, I would much rather hear how much I touched them to how good that I sounded, because Namaya knows this. I do not like to sing fast songs. I do not like to sing toe tappers, hand clappers. It's not my preference.
Mm.
However, apparently those songs resonate with me. And so in order for me to get through a song, when we learn something, we don't really rehearse, but any song that I have to sing, whether it be lead, solo, or choir, I listen to the song to learn the words first. Like, I hear the melody, hear the rhythm, listen to learn the words, but then I keep listening and I listen to understand the writer, where they were when they wrote the song. And then I put myself in the space and say, how would this affect me, or how would this affect someone else? Like, I try and make it relatable, because in order for me to evoke some type of emotion and minister something, I have to allow it to minister to me.
Mm-hmm. So you feel what you do is ministry as a singer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as I've tried to push that away, this is a part of my ministry. Some people, when they come to church, the songs are what bring them in. So sometimes that's the gateway, that's the door. And in order for us to have corporate worship, it has to be all on one accord. The prayer ministry, the singing, the praise and worship, the scripture, just everything evokes the same thing. And as long as we're on the same page and have the same, it's all ministry. I'm actually reading a book about corporate worship that incorporates all bodies, evoking the entire ministry. So very interesting.
Yeah. Now, over the years that I've known you sing at various places and sang with various people. And then I found out that I don't even know how many years ago that when you used to sing with Innate Praise. What was that like?
Funniest thing, like, I didn't even know that there were auditions, and I literally got a call like an hour before the auditions were over, and they were like, they're having these auditions. He's trying to start a group. Literally just finished getting my hair braided, literally put on some clothes, ran over there, sang for him. And that in itself, just the opportunity to sing for someone who has been in the spaces that he's been in, and the magnitude of what his stardom was. And then once we came together, I've met a series of people like through that ministry, Reverend Charles Dorsey, Dr. Dorsey,
Yeah.
his wife Keisha Dorsey. We were all in this group together. Jacob Lusk, who was one of top 10 finalists American Idol. Tahira Christie, she goes to core as well. So there's quite a few of us, and I've developed these wonderful relationships, and I still keep in contact with majority. I'm still in contact with the lady who helped start it with Nate, Miss Erica Beckwith. Hi, Erica, if you're watching. But the rehearsals, like, this was real deal. Nate let us see a part of him that a lot of people didn't know. Like, his father was a minister, his mother was a director, organ player, his aunts, like, his family just celebrated, I don't know if it was 25 or 30 years. They did a concert every year, every November, called Smith Family Night. One of our rehearsals, he brought his mother and his aunts. When I tell you, these ladies sang and it's like, okay, Clark's sisters, like, they were his Clark sisters.
Oh yeah.
They were what taught him, like, the whole elements of music. Like, his sister was his background singer, and their blends, because of their connection as a family and how they worship together, allowed them to, it was amazing. And we learned a lot in the short time that we had with him. So
yeah, you know, just for anybody who doesn't realize what we're talking about, Innate Praise was a group started by the hip hop artist Nate Dogg, and I remember years after he passed, I had no idea that he had a gospel group, because all I knew was Nate Dogg from, you know, on the records and on the radio with the hip hop, and then to find out he was doing gospel too, it was like, wow. And then years later, find out that you were actually a part of that Innate Praise. That was pretty interesting, because I think I only know two kind of famous people personally. So, you know, anytime I get a chance to say, hey, you know, my friend, I know this person, I was connected to this person, you know, just like all of us, we like to be connected to famous people. Now, as you famously, well, not famously, but we know as of lately that you are transitioning into the preaching ministry. How is that going?
Woo. It's going. It's going to be a long journey. But I'm okay right now. I haven't really gotten through, like, I just started the beginning steps. I preached my trial sermon last February, and I went before, well, in the AME, I went before the steward board and trustees, and then before the elder to request for my license to preach, which I have. And just last week, I went before the board of examiners to begin the process on getting, like, the entrance inside.
Right. So when do you start actual board of examiners?
January.
Oh, okay. That admissions year.
Yeah. So it's the first year, but it's not really the first year.
Yeah,
it's like the pre-year to see, do you really want to do this? Yeah,
that's when I was going through board of examiners, they called it the admissions year, and then you get in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Now, this how does this feel? Do you feel like you're going to be really complete changing, or just adding to what you've been doing?
I think it's going to be an addition to. When I was speaking to the ministers, and I should have known when I entered the call that I would probably know every minister on the line. And some of them half of them were shocked and half were not. And I don't think that I'm going to take away from what I'm doing. I think it's just going to be an added plus. Like, I'm already at church. I'm already so involved. I'm involved with my kids' choir, our children's choir. I help lead praise and worship, help direct the women's choir. But then also I've been involved in our young adult ministries and with our children's church. So it's just, I think I'm finally just settling on what my role actually is, like what else I can do.
Now, all of us who have gone into ministry, well, not all of us, a lot of us rather, have dealt with this issue of, I ain't the one. Did you fight your call to ministry?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a struggle was it?
Because I'm pretty sure you and I have had several conversations beginning, I think at Brookins many, many years ago. And you would always say, Reverend. And I said, ooh, y'all need to stop answering my phone because I didn't get that call. I didn't get that message. Reverend Nixon used to always, he used to say the things. What I love about Apostle Shar Nixon, hi, Mom, she never said those words exactly, but she always encouraged me to listen to God, to what he was saying to me. I think she kind of knew and she heard. She didn't say it directly, but things that she said to me, I've had a few other people say it in almost the same context. There's this preacher at my church, Reverend Dave Grant. He and his wife had two separate conversations with the both of them, months apart. I had a conversation with her during our women's retreat, and she said, "There's just a covering over your life, and I can't wait to see what God has in store for you next." And she just prayed over me, and she goes, "I just know that there's something else within you." She was like, "And I can't wait, and I hope I'm there for it." She said a little bit more to that, and literally like maybe right before I really accepted it, he said almost verbatim the same exact thing that she said. And they never had a conversation about me. They never said, like, these were months apart, almost a whole year apart, having these conversations. And it just, when you ask a question, be careful because you're gonna get the answer. And sometimes, you know, when you ask God for something, you say, like, God, give me a sign. Okay. Sometimes he hits you with it and just whacks you over the head and say, you said this is what you wanted to know. Here it is. Now, are you ready to accept it? See, and that's the difference. Because,
well, who you telling? God, yeah. So how old were you when you first realized there's something stirring up inside of you?
I might have been around 25, 26. This all started to really happen around my accident because I was going through different stages of really trying to understand why I was still here. Because, you know, when you go through trauma and you go through things, you question your purpose. And so I went through a long transition of that whole stage, just not understanding why was I kept, like what else am I supposed to be doing? So, and I was still working through that, like even recently, because I hadn't really dealt with the issues internally. Like we say, oh, you know, we're over it, but you're never really over something so traumatic. And so, you know, when you're having these conversations with God and you're like, I don't know if this is what you meant, because it's so deep and you're trying to understand why me. But the question you should be asking is why not you? That's always the question. Like just reading the different stories about the different people that God blessed just for accepting and listening and being obedient. It's sometimes you just have to stand still and say, okay, I hear you. What's next?
Yeah, it's interesting when you get to that place, because it's similar to you. Well, not totally similar. My life was just kind of in turmoil when I finally accepted the call to ministry, and I just remember everything just seemed to be reeling. No matter what I did, no matter how cool I was, no matter what I thought, everything just seemed to be spiraling out of control. And then when I just stopped the running, it's not that anything didn't happen. It's just I had more peace being able to deal with all that stuff, and that's coming in from this side and coming in from that side. That just really kind of leveled everything out and gave me a whole lot of perspective.
And that's kind of where it happened for me, because I felt like last year, I just felt like there was this attack and everything was just hovering over me. And I just felt overwhelmed, like overwhelmed to the point where like I was just crying. I didn't understand like why I felt the way I felt. Things were weighing heavily on me to the point where I wasn't focusing. Work wasn't bad, but I just felt like things were coming this way. Going to church, like I just felt things were tugging at me and pulling on me. And I felt like maybe I have too much. There's too much happening. So I took a break. I mean, I couldn't take a break from work, but I told my minister of music and my pastor, I said, I'm just going to take a seat for a second. I kind of just need to evaluate, figure out what's going on with me just to see what's happening. And then over the course of those 3 months, I enrolled in school because I said that was something that I wanted to finish. And I knew that the longer I waited, the longer it was going to take me to finish. But in the midst of that, I heard this other thing that was like, but you know what else you're supposed to be doing too. And, you know, when we were talking with D'Amico last week, like it was almost the same. It's like, I'm waiting on you. You waiting on me. I've been here the whole time. Like I'm sitting here waiting for you. And I've been saying it, but you weren't listening. It's like you heard me, but you weren't listening to exactly what I was saying. You weren't trying to understand. You were trying to like, no, you wasn't talking to me. And so once I accepted that, and it was like, wow, like I don't want to say everything just got pushed away, but it was clarity.
Yeah. That's exactly the way I saw it, that everything became crystal clear and the peace. It was still troublesome because that's certainly not what I envisioned for my life. When I think about ministry, or when I thought about ministry then, all I could think of was, no, that ain't gonna be me. I don't ever want to be in that position. I don't ever want to be sitting up here worried about creating a sermon every week. Matter of fact, I wanted to just be able to be, if I wanted to be a butt to everybody, I just wanted to be able to do that. And it's like being well, how are you supposed to be a minister and you sit around there acting like you act? It's like, okay, I can't reconcile the two.
Yeah, I'm in that same sense also because people know me as much as more than I'd like them to know me because I sing. So it's like my gift has opened different doors and has allowed me to do different things. And so I'm on a different level than someone else that may be coming into the ministry because the microscope has already been on me because I've been in the conference choir, I'm 35, 18 years now. 18 years in the conference choir, on the conference level. I've sang at our bishop's investiture. I've sang in front of all of the consecrated bishops living. Like, so these people know me on a different type of level. And then for me to walk into the door like I did last week, it's one thing to walk into the space and admit it at my church and in front of my elder. But when I walked into that door, the board of examiners, when I tell you the looks on these people's faces, it's like, I know that they're going to be hard on everyone, but I feel like an extra microscope is going to be on me because it's like, you've already been in this door, so you already know. So I feel like it's monumental pressure.
Now that actually makes me think of a question. People know you. People knew me. Who's questioned your calling? Has anybody questioned your calling? Not yet. Don't put them out there. I was like, has anybody questioned your calling?
Kinda. Yeah. Yes. And like, not to say that they're like, are you sure? Like, you already at church, you volunteer, you do this, you do that. I've seen you. But you gotta understand, like, God called Mary Magdalene, and you know where her history. It's like, see, but what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of us have to go through different trials and tribulations in order for us to have this testimony, in order to say that this is what God has brought me from. Like, at the end of the day, the choices that we made were the choices that we made, not the choices that God made. God gave us the ability to make these choices. Now, if we make these choices on our own, we deal with those. But as long as we go to God and say, you know, I repent, and, you know, you wholeheartedly, like fully with your heart, you repent of your transgressions, and you say that, you know what, God, I want you to make me whole. I want you to cleanse me. If God is accepting of that, then what others think of me doesn't matter.
You know, it's interesting because for me, I found myself in a place of accepting the call to ministry, but right away I was worried about what other people who knew me were going to say. And then when the one person who I fully expected to support my calling was the main one that questioned it. And I was really, really taken back by the questioning of my call from this particular person. Now, there are some people who I expected to question. You just already know, yeah, well, Ron, I knew you. What about all this? And dude, don't even try that mess with it. I was with you when. And then here's the one person who I felt has known me the longest, knew me better than anybody else, is the one that questioned my calling. And it really shocked me. Does it hurt you when some people question at all? I mean, at some point in any part of your body, does it bother you?
You know, like initially it kind of did, but everybody's not going to understand. And not that it's a comparison. Like I had an instance back when I was much younger, when I was singing, and people didn't really like, some people knew and some people really didn't know. They knew I could carry a tune, but they didn't know that I could lead a song because I never really like pushed myself out there very much. And I remember I got this solo, supposed to do His Eyes on the Sparrow, the version from Sister Act 2. And I was singing the high part, and this other lady named Keisha was gonna sing the bottom. And I remember we were gonna do a concert, like this was gonna be a big thing. And they were like, "You gonna sing that part? You sure that you can sing that part?" And like, it's crazy. The people that you think know you and really know who you are, but everybody's not on your journey as much as you think that they know and they understand. They're not. And so, you know, you just gonna have to breeze by it. Like when they did question, like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, that's what you want to do. You know, I have to take it with a grain of salt, because everybody is not always, they can't see what you see. They don't know the things that you know. Like, you know, they know about you, but they don't know truly what's within you. So sometimes you kind of just gotta go and just roll with it. And if they stay with you, then they stay with you. And if not, that's okay too.
Yeah, well, that is certainly the truth, because once you've accepted that call, once you start going down that road, it's pretty hard to get off, I would imagine. I haven't tried to get off this road yet, but I've known some people that have gone and abandoned it for various reasons. You know, I don't question the fact that they had a calling. Can you hold on, babe? Can you go just mute that, please? I'm sorry, didn't turn off my house phone. But nonetheless, yeah, it's I've seen these people get off of this road, and I don't question them. I just know life happens, just like life happened before and life happens after the call. And it's just all about how they're handling their journey at the, you know, when you were talking about they're going down their road, and I don't know what's going on and what they're dealing with, and the battles they have to face when they're going through this. So that part is pretty interesting. Now, as you begin this journey and with the board of examiners and the whole bit, how do you see your future shaping up right now?
I don't know. I it, I feel like it's just so much going on. The board of examiners, um, undergrad, just so I don't know. We did have the conversation of where I saw where my ministry, like what my focal point is, and I think I kind of I'm in the space. I love children. I'm more or less probably going to be involved with the youth, the young adults. I feel like that was a really good space for me. Like the people who helped shape and molded me throughout my formative years, like I feel like they need a window. They need someone who understands and who's going through. And in order for us to build the church and keep the church growing the way that it should, we have to mentor those.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, but it needs to be like a stepping stone. Someone above me needs to mentor me, vice versa. That someone below me, I need to mentor them. Like there has to be a trickle. I feel a lot of times people are so caught up in this is what we do and this is tradition and this is this and this is that. My thing is everything wasn't always tradition. At one point, what you call tradition was radical to your parents or the people above you. So there's always going to be a constant change. Yes, there's going to be a foundation. Now let's think about the way houses were built in the 1950s as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to how they're built now. There's a foundation that is laid. However, the way that the structures are molded and how they're based, there's changes. So there's going to be where you lay the ground, but things change over time. In order for us to evolve and for order for us to keep moving, like people don't write with typewriters no more. Realistically, let's just keep it 100. Nobody uses typewriters
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't even think
Like
anybody's ever seen a typewriter in the last
like
20 years.
like I think I showed one of my kids a floppy disk, and they're like, "What is this?" Like, let alone they don't know what a they don't know what a CD or a MP3 like. You know, at this point, no one knows what records are, CD players. Like, we still have foundations. Like, we listen to music. They started with possibly records, 8 tracks, CDs, MP3s, and now all we do is stream. Everything is on your phone or it's through Alexa or Siri or whoever. Like everything has its purpose. They start somewhere, but they build and they grow.
Hopefully
So,
they grow.
well, the, we have to allow them to grow. If we don't water these plants, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, they're gonna die. And you can't expect the church to stay on solid ground if we pulling down the bricks.
Yeah.
Like your children are the bricks. In order for us to keep this going, we got to build them up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of stuff is getting lost. And I think that's why I'm so connected to kids, because there were places and spaces that I was in that we were torn down. Like, oh, you guys are too loud. You guys do this, we do that. Yeah, but in order to reach them, you got to do something different. What reached you is not going to reach them. It's still the same
It's
foundation.
it's people struggle with that because once you start getting into church and dealing with what you've been doing for the last 10 years, then that becomes comfortable, and this pushing you outside of that comfort zone, it becomes painful for a lot of people. We know that some people, for them, that they only thrive in church. This is where they're important. They're not important at home or on their jobs or any other aspect of life, but at church, they're the head steward or the head trustee, or they got the pastor's ear, so they feel like they wield some power. And then letting you in means that I might actually have to let go of some of this power or some of this influence, and I'm not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, and that title ain't gonna get you nowhere. It's just a title. That
Not,
title ain't gonna get you into heaven. Like, oh, when you get to the door and be like, oh, I was the head steward.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's not gonna get you nowhere. They're gonna look at what you've done. Like the title, it's just the name. Because I'm pretty sure that I know many people that I've worked with and worked for. They got titles of office manager, but what was they managing? You know what I mean? Like, you can have this name, but what are you doing with your role?
Yep.
You can have this name attached to you, but what is your name? What do you do? That's what people are looking for. And I can't get caught up in a title. So, you know, whether I'm minister, reverend, I'm still gonna be me, and I'm still gonna be the person that reaches out. And that's all.
I'm with you on that. I don't particularly like the titles because whenever I introduce myself to somebody, even in the church setting, it's like, oh, who are you? Ron. I'm Ron Thomas, and that's it. And so, what do you mean, Ron Thomas? That's Pastor Thomas. Like, okay, whatever. You know, I was Ron before. I'm always going to be Ron because, quite frankly, like you said, the title really doesn't mean anything to me. Now, as a woman going into ministry, what do you see as the potential challenges?
You know, right now, I don't see very many. There are a lot of women preachers, which I'm grateful for, because before, growing up, I didn't see it as much as I do now. And even there's a lot of women. There's a lot of younger people, like the class that's going before me. All of them are under 30.
Wow.
Which is amazing. Like, I probably should have been in their class, but I'm not under 30. But it's like a whole new leaf, like going to conference, and I've seen the changes that are coming in, and there's so many women, like there's so many women head pastors, not just associate ministers. You know, we got the Reverend Dr. Mary Minor, who's at Brookins. There's Reverend Baskin Bell. I think she's at First
Santa Monica.
Right? And I know her personally. She used to be the associate minister when I went to Grant. So, like, I know all these different women preachers who are just amazing and who are mentors to me. So I think I'm pretty good. Like, I think I'm okay in that aspect. I think I'm good. I think there's going to be, you know, the questions because I'm a single woman, but I don't think that title matters either, because it doesn't. It doesn't. Married, single, widowed, like, that does nothing for my ministry. What does that have to do with my ministry?
No, that's interesting that you brought that up, because that was something I was going to ask you, like I asked D'Amico last week. How do you feel you're going to navigate those waters as a single woman in ministry?
So that's interesting enough as it is, because I always told myself that I would never date a pastor or a preacher or a reverend, and I've done it. So it's, you never know, you know, you never say never, but I think it's going to be different. I'm not going to say it's going to be difficult, because I think the right person, whoever is made for me, will understand and will be able to, you know, ride the wave with me. Everybody ain't built for this. So it's pretty much going to weed out the ones that ain't supposed to be here anyway.
You know, it's my wife had said before we got together that she had written down a list of what she wanted in a man. And one of the things she wanted was a spiritual man. That when we started dating, I was not what you would call spiritual by any stretch of the imagination. So when she said it was important for her to have a husband who went to church. So we started, as we were dating, going to church together. And I found myself drawn back to church. I was born, grew up in church my whole life, went to religious schools, but I found myself outside of the church and didn't want to come back to it. But my wife, she wanted a spiritual man, and she said, I didn't want a preacher. I just wanted somebody to go to church with me.
Oh, I know Miss Chantel, so I already know.
And she reminds me all the time, you were the one that was called to ministry. I wasn't called, but like our mentors told us, she told, the matter of fact, it was my friend's wife, who's a pastor, said, I don't want to ever hear you say that again, because if God called him, God called you, because God put you together. And she reluctantly accepts that title, actually, you know, probably grudgingly, because she wanted to be like me. just be able to go off whenever you want to, and that's it, without thinking of anybody looking at, oh, that's Pastor Ron's wife, or that's Pastor Ron acting this way, and it's I just don't like it. So you have a lot of some mentors that you can look up to, which is good. I know all those people. I see them. I know there's a few of them who I'm friends with on Facebook. Francine Brookins, who's running for bishop, Melanie Mays, and I know I don't want to get into naming all of them because I'm gonna leave somebody out, and then they'll be like, could have brought up my name. But there are a lot of them out there, and it is something to see. It's I ask that question because I know there's still a bunch of people who hold on to that mentality that women are not supposed to be in leadership in church, and that still exists today. This is not just something that I've seen with older people. I've seen that with people as young as 30 that still hold on to that. You know, my grandmother said this, and she was called to preach, but she had to stick and be a deaconess, and that was her ministry. And it just glad to see things changing, because there are a lot of powerful voices from women. I believe, like I told you, when I heard your trial sermon, wasn't just saying that just to make you feel good. That really, you preached a trial sermon better than some people who've been preaching for a couple of years. And that, again, that's not to make your head big or anything, but that does say something about where your future is going. Has anybody ever talked to you about that? Like, what do you see as the future in ministry? Do you see yourself as being on staff? Do you see yourself as potentially pastoring the church?
We've kind of grazed over that conversation. Now, right now, and I know that things can change over time. Like, where I am right now may not be where I'll be in 5 to 10 years. I'll probably, I'll say staff. I don't know about pastoring my own, but who's to say that? I don't necessarily see that right now, but I didn't see where I am right now even 10 years ago. So anything is possible, but being on staff, like maybe a youth minister, I see myself in more of that aspect. But there's different windows and different opportunities, because we have the women in ministry, so we got there's so many women that are there that I can just say, hey, sis, can I talk to you? So I think I'm equipped. I think I got a lot of stuff on my side right now.
You think you're going to be AME forever?
I don't know, because I left too. I left like the space, everything, and when I decided, like, I think I'm gonna go back to church, I went to all types of different churches, non-denomination, Baptist, AME, and somehow I got to core, and it was like this series, and I just kept going back and going back and going back. I went there for 3 months before I even joined. I stayed. I think I was there for like 9 months before I joined the choir. Because I just wanted to be in the space. I wanted to be like, I wanted to receive the word. I didn't want to go to work just yet, because my pastor at the time, he had already called me out the day I visited. He said, this is my daughter, Janae. She sings. We're going to get her in the choir. And I'm like, these people don't know me. They don't even know I'm a business. They don't even know I can sing. Literally, like, I got to the choir, and then a month later, my minister of music was like, I have a song. Can you sing it, lead it on fourth Sunday? And then literally every fourth Sunday after that, I led a song. And then like, we started a ministry maybe like 4 months after that, and I was helping with that. So it's like I was put to work just so quickly. So I don't know if I'll be AME. I've seen a lot in AME, but I think that's with all or any space or denomination. There's
none of
lots
them
of
perfect. Yeah, ain't none of them perfect.
I love where I'm at, and I think the only reason I ran away and stepped away for the time that I did, because I was upset at some things that had happened. repeatedly, like things, and this was like church hurt. But what I had to understand is that it wasn't the church that was hurting me, it was the man or the person. And so I had to separate, even though the person or the persons that I was upset with had a higher, calling. That name means nothing. Like, I understand that they are to be held to a certain stature, but at the same time, they're still a human being, and people have their faults. And so they were the face. They were the person that okay, I'm attaching you to the church. So
Right.
now I've exiled myself from the church because you're connected to the church. So that just means everything is wrong with the church. But that's just not true. I mean, there are bad people everywhere. Like, I can go to work and there's bad people. I can walk down the street to the store. There's a bad person there. Like, I can't navigate my life running away from spaces because there's one bad apple. So I may be Amy all my life. I may not. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, it's always, as long as you're open to it, because I actually thought that was going to be my life. And there were other people who thought that was going to be my life. And I've had some people speak to me that I see you as a bishop, and I just laughed like, ha, that no, not me. So things have a way of changing, when where we are right now, and then God calls you and leads you someplace else, you got to roll with it. Now, what do you think about what the church's role should be or should the church have a role in what's going on in the world with Ahmaud Arbery situations?
I think everybody should have a role. Church, just everyone, because that shouldn't have happened, period, point blank. That situation, I'm sorry, if someone is coming out following me, I'm going to have my guard up because I don't know you. Mm-hmm. I have no clue who you are. And I see you with a gun. So my instincts are to save myself. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, I mean, even the guy who recorded the video, who says now, like on his statement, he's fearing for his life, and it wasn't supposed to be like that. Sir, you were as calm and cool as a cucumber during that entire recording. There was no shock when the shots rang off. You had your gun too. So I'm a little bit, I'm a little lost on how you can say that, that's not what was intended to happen. I feel like that young man was hunted. He was targeted, and it's happened on so many occasions. I mean, even the young girl, I can't think of what her name is right now, the girl who was sleeping in her house.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They had a warrant out. Wrong house. The person was already in custody. You're shooting into a house? I'm just not understanding. Like, I'm so confused on these things. Like, so I feel like everyone should be in an uproar. I feel like everyone should be upset. Like, we should all be doing something, because the more we stay quiet, the more, they think it's okay, and it's not okay. And I feel like it's just getting worse. We need to figure out how to navigate change. Like, yes, protest. I mean, we've done it, but what are we doing to make these laws change? Because they don't even have hate crime laws in the state of Georgia, so they can't base it on that. Then they tried to say with self-defense. First of all, I think they should get rid of the DA that recused herself, because there's no way that you watched that video and thought that anyway that those men were justified in doing what they did. Like, oh, well, you can't see what happens on the other side. I'm sorry. If somebody is coming up on me, jumps out the car with a gun, it's me or you, period. It's me or you. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to follow him. If you really felt like there was something that was a threat, call the police. Let them handle it. Like, I just don't understand. So I think everyone as a human being, just as a human being, has an obligation to be upset and to do something. Like, we need to make this more than just a national level. Like, this needs to be international. Like, this needs to be addressed. We need to figure out the problem. Like, why is this reoccurring? I don't want to keep seeing hashtags, this person's name, hashtag this person. Like, no one deserves to be treated like this. No one deserves to die the way that he did.
Yeah, and the hashtags are getting old, because when you sit around or when you live your life, and I've told people on more than one occasion that we keep referring to this country as a Christian country, and I said, boy, we sure don't behave like a Christian country. We have a country that has some Christian people, but by and large, everybody else is just kind of doing their own thing. And did you have? I forgot my boy's name, but the dude that plays Ghost on Power. His wife made a video. His wife is white, and she made a video about it that was pretty interesting, coming from someone who's white. But then I guess if you have a black husband and black kids, then you do have a different perspective than the average white person.
But I saw parts of her video, but someone I know, one of my white friends, like, even just as a person, like, you know your privilege, like, speak on it, like, address it. These things are not okay, whether you're white, black. And everyone says, oh, well, you know, it's a person issue. No, this is something that addressing our color. It is, because they're like, well, there's more black on black crime. Okay, but if you look at the percentage of white on white crime, y'all killing each other more than we're killing each other.
Every race attacks its own.
Let's look at these statistics. Like, if you want to do a comparison, oh, well, black people are killing each other all the time. Realistically, how many times are you hearing about gang violence anymore? Realistically, the gangs, and I don't want to say it as the police, because it's not all of the police. However, there are some people who have become a part of this culture and abuse their power. Whether they're white, they're black. Because, like, even the guy, for the young man who was running from the cops and who was shot down, the black cop on the camera, who didn't know he was being recorded, said, it's gonna be a closed casket, homie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what someone has done. You still have to think in an aspect from a human standpoint. Like, that was a human being. That's a life. That's someone laying below you. And what I don't understand is how you tased him and then shot him all those times. Because I'm pretty sure he was convulsing when he went down.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen other videos of other races, more predominantly white, that'll come out brandishing guns or knives, literally talking down, brandishing them. But no one gets shot. No one gets tased. Like, they can bring them in peacefully. You bring in Dylan Roof and you take him to Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, I saw a video where a guy was out. He was actively shooting live rounds at the police, and they cuffed him and took him in without incident.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm confused. The video of the I think it was a Hispanic man somewhere. I don't know if it was LA. But luckily, somebody was recording from their room because they heard something happening. They're stopping the guy, not telling him why. Big guy, and he's beating him.
Oh yeah, that's LA.
and his partner, she does nothing.
Standing there watching it.
She calls it more reinforcement, and and the man, and you know that he's hurting. You know that he's being hit, and as much as he's trying to restrain from it, like, you can tell, like, you being hit on so many times, like, you can only control what's natural, what comes to you, and it's like, that man refrained from doing anything, and I'm just trying to understand. I'm glad that was caught on camera, but why should we have to resort to keep recording things and getting things on camera in order for it to be proven? And then even when it is recorded, nothing happens.
Or that's that part right there, which is why it keeps happening, because there have been no repercussions. Nobody pays a penalty for it.
Like, you know, people were excited they finally got arrested, but my thing is, that took 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
They had the video from the gate and they watched it and they said no. Then the lady recuses herself, and then the other DA, he's like, oh, well, I don't see anything to cause merit for this. This is an open and shut case. Where? Then they didn't tell his mother the entire story from the gate. She didn't find out about this video and all this other stuff until later. And it's like, what were you trying to hide? If we never saw this video, if this never came to light, all of this happening is hoopla. It's like they're trying to get us to be quiet now.
Yeah.
But now is not the time to be quiet.
Nope.
To keep going. Now is not the time to be quiet because we need to address it. Because nothing's happening. And until change happens, until they start to really suffer consequences for things that they're doing, like, I just don't know. Yeah. I just don't know.
Yeah. Last question before I let you go. How does your family feel about all this?
My grandma thinks it's the best thing on earth. Every time I talk to her, you know, in her lovely, high-pitched voice, she always says, Nene, I'm so proud of you. I love you. I just want you to keep, you know, doing what God has called you to do. Even before then, she always just expressed, you know, how much she loved that my relationship with God. She loved that I wasn't afraid to be who I was. And she loved that I always exuded this happiness and this joy of being in church and, you know, proclaiming God is amazing and he is the creator of all things. So she thinks it's great. Everybody's coming around. Like, because, you know, some of my family were like, what? What? But, you know, and some of them were like, yeah, we can see that. So everybody's just, you know, everybody's praying for me because they know that this is a long road. It's a long journey, and there are going to be people, places, things that are going to try and hinder me from this road. They're going to try and put like a roadblock. And so everybody's just, you know, praying for me. They always ask me, how are you? Everything good? Are you all right? So everybody's pretty good. My sister says, you know, I can do their ceremony once I'm fully ordained. When they do their renewal. So.
That'd be wonderful. That will be wonderful.
Like, I'll sing a song.
Oh, well. Hey, Janae, thank you for your being gracious and allowing us to talk this evening, chop it up, and hopefully, actually, I know a little bit more about you now than I did before. I thought I knew enough, but there's some stuff you revealed. It was like, wow, I didn't know that about Janae. So I'm glad we had this opportunity to talk and share. I think you had some valuable stuff to say that people need to hear. I hope that you continue with the faith at the level you have now and that it continues to grow, that you lean on the women before you and then you continue to allow young women to lean on you as well as they try to navigate those roles of, you know, do I have a calling and should I acknowledge this? Is this going to interfere with whatever is happening in their lives? Because this, you're right, this is not, like I told people before, this ain't for no punk. You can't be a punk and talk about you gonna do this role because it is rough. Just dealing with the scrutiny and a lot of times just I know for me, the continuing beating up of Ron. When everybody else is supporting me, I'm still beating up Ron because of the mistakes I made over the course of my life. And I still have this, I wear this weight around my neck of being unworthy to wear that mantle and to stand up behind that desk and preach God's redeeming message. But that's ultimately what it's about, the redemption, that he came to redeem us. And so I pray that you will continue to hold fast to that. And I'm excited to see where you go with music and the preaching, that as you combine the two of those in your ministry, I dare say it because, you know, I do put a lot of stuff on you, but I'm going to put one more thing on you too, that when your album comes out, and Reverend Janae Jackson. I just want to make sure you autograph my copy.
No problem.
So with that, can you pray us out, please?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. I thank you for this conversation, very much needed so that people can see the inside, because there's much more to us of what you see. There's much more of us within.
Yes,
and I
God.
just thank you, God, for this outlet, this opportunity to just let people come in and see what's going on with us. Because above all else, we're human. We deal
God.
with food. And God, it's nothing more than just to be about you, about giving all the glory, all the grace. And we're honored, we're blessed, we're thankful to have the opportunity to do this. And so we're thankful for our health. We're thankful for our families. We're thankful for the space to be able to communicate with each other, even though we're in this quarantine. And we're just thanking you in advance for what you're doing for us so that we can come out this stronger. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Janae. Thank you for everybody who tuned in and watched and who will watch. And tune in again next Friday, 7:00. We'll be here with Pastor Ray from Dallas, Texas. But hey, I love you all, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a good night.
Nothing you can do about it tonight.